Hello all, this is James Johnson, aka Sulfurblade, and welcome back to my channel and professional fishing. So, in this particular video, well, I've been doing some fishing. I've been doing a fair amount of fishing off camera, and I've started to at least figure out Silver Forest to an extent that I feel, I don't know, competent enough to start giving you all some advice. So with Silver Forest, there are a couple of fish that I'm going to point out where to find them and how to catch them. Of course, this is my preference. Being, from the United States, I prefer certain fish types. And for me, I'm going to attempt to show you where to find bass consistently, where to find catfish consistently, what to use to catch catfish and bass consistently, and also where to find really big perch. And to make this even better, they all use the same lure. Yes, I'm not going to... So, there is a certain amount of leveling you may have to do without having access to the lure I'm going to tell you about. So, the lure I'm telling you about right now is one of the very first lures you'll ever have access to, and that is this Rubfish Twister 4, or what I call the White Mr. Twister. So, he's actually level 1 required. You can buy him immediately upon starting the game, and I think you might have enough money too, because it's only a 20 gold lure. So we're talking about a very easy to acquire lure. Let's just put it that way. You'll have access to it from the get-go, and that's the lure I'm going to be using while fishing. Alright, so let's jump on in here to the free fishing and catch us some stuff, shall we? Alright, this is not where you're going to spawn at. I have a tent here, so I spawn here. When you spawn in the game, you spawn somewhere in this area. Probably right here, in fact. So if you look to your right, you'll see a lake that looks like that. You got some rocks out there. And when you look to your left, you'll see a lake that looks like this, with a little bridge going across it. If you're wanting bass, you're going to go straight down this road. All the way to the end here. And so there's this little stream that connects the two lakes. Look on the map, we're here, and there's this stream that goes in between them. I'm at the mouth of this lake. Alright, and then just take your pole and cast out yonder this way, below this branch. And you're just going to do a start and stop reel in. And that's all there is to it. I've got a bass on the line, it looks like. Or possibly big brown trout, but more than likely a bass. Turn some light on since it's getting nighttime. Huh, only a 4-pound bass? You gave me a harder fight than that. And another little bass. My line doesn't look right. There's something going on here. Yeah, I'm using the wrong line. What's that? Alright, granted the line I was using is the line you're going to have access to when you start the game. This purplish line that I've got here is a 6-pound line, 6-pound monofilament. You're not going to have access to this. Yeah, and you can also get some brown trout in this location. And sometimes you get the occasional little perch. The majority of the time, you pick yourself up some nice bass. After we reel this bass in, we'll go to the next location I want to show you. Alright, so that's the bass spot. Alright, so in this lake over here, you have this bridge that goes across it. And if you go out to the center of the bridge, you'll see this tree that's kind of growing out of the center of it. Just cast around the tree here. And do a start and stop type retreat. And you'll hook yourself into a catfish. Be sure to adjust your drag accordingly. So this fight is going to be quite a lot more difficult than the bass fight, because the catfish, well, will typically weigh considerably more than the bass you catch. Most of the bass will be around 6 pounds, for the catfish usually upwards of 12 to 18 pounds. You're wondering why I have my drag set down at 80%. It's because I'm using 6-pound test monofilament, 6.17 pound monofilament. My rod is has like a 6.37 drag, and my reel is, or no, my reel has like a 6.37 drag, and my rod is rated at about 6.4 pounds or something. So everything is really close to being the same rating, with the line being just slightly underneath. But still, it's close enough that I fear doing damage to the rod and line, or rod and reel, instead of having the line break. When you feel like the fish has gotten tired, go ahead and adjust the drag up a little. I think when I was using the starter setup, I was typically wearing the catfish out at about 70% drag. can also walk over to where the fish is. Sometimes that works. He's getting away. And we got him. So there's a 14-pound catfish. And so, yeah, to catch the catfish, just use a white Mr. Twister tail and toss it out there and do a start and stop retrieve. Really as simple as that. Now this other thing I wanted to show you, how to get big perch. Not sure if I got really lucky the other day. So here I am in the corner of the lake here. And last time I was here with the white Mr. Twister casting, I landed me some really big perch. Let's see if we can do it again. And yeah, there's a 6.3-pound perch, which, if you ask me, is ludicrous. I did some research the other day about perch, for instance, and the world record yellow perch is something like 2.5 pounds. The state of Wisconsin's record largest perch is 3 pounds 4 ounces, which is bigger than the world record perch. I don't quite understand how that's a fact, but those are two separate records that all are far less in weight than 6.3 pounds. So yeah, if I was in the real world, I would be holding myself a world record and state record perch in my hands. So let's see if we can catch another one, just to make sure that I can duplicate my claims here. Alright, whatever I hooked is much smaller than the last fish. I'll give her a few more tries here. This netting system is so frustrating. Alright, got him that time. So a 3.38 pound perch, that's a little closer to being world record size, or state of Wisconsin record size. But yeah, still a beautiful perch. Huge, even. There we are, a 6.77 pound perch. Again, stupidly big perch. I picked up the net. Yeah, I'll try to catch one more. I could show you one other thing. That I know about this particular map, that is. So there's that dead tree there. Again, using the white Mr. Twistertail. If you cast at or near the white tree, you should reliably catch yourself Bream. Though, I don't know why you would. Bream don't sell very well. Yeah, they don't sell very well, and they're a pretty large fish, so they take up a lot of space in your net. But maybe you find yourself one day just trying to catch a big bream. Alright, so we hooked one. And there you are, 4.33 pound bream, a little on the smaller side. We'll toss them in there anyway. Maybe catch another one, fill the net up. Just again to prove that there is bream over here. that's a better Bream, 8.23 pounds. So, a big fish. So I suppose if you like to catch big fish, that's fun. But if you're wanting to catch big fish, you might as well catch the catfish, right? They're bigger. Alright, and I think that that shows most of what I had to show. So I showed you where to catch bass. I showed you where to catch catfish. I showed you where to catch trophy perch, just stupidly huge perch, and where to catch bream, all with the same lure. So hey, there you go. Some simple tips and tricks about the first map and where to find some of the basic fish. Now we'll go back out to the main menu and we'll sell fish. I just wanted to show you kind of to get a feel of what the fish are worth, right? So here's the 8.23 pound bream that's worth 22 compared to a 4-pound bass worth 25. You can reliably catch 6-pound bass at that location. Like, for example, this 4.7-pound bass was worth 30. So if you're pulling in, you know, the bigger 6-pound bass reliably and consistently out of that spot, which you can, you'll fill up, well, the net I'm using, I think it's 55 pounds, and I pretty much make about 350 gold per trip. But here we went and we caught some other stuff, like that giant perch was only worth 19. But yeah, and even the brown trout that you catch in that location, a 3.6 pound brown trout is worth 21, which again, that's half the weight of that giant perch, and it's worth more money. So if you're wanting to catch effective fish to make money, the first spot I showed you where to find the bass and the brown trout is a good money-making spot. The catfish, of course, if you have the equipment to pull the catfish out quickly and reliably, then they're going to be great money makers. I mean, if you have the gear to winch those catfish out, I'm sure they're going to be worth more than fishing in the bass and brown trout location. But early on in the game, when you first start off, you're not going to have the gear to reliably pull those catfish out in any meaningful time frame. It's going to take a little bit of time to catch them because you'll have to wear them out and such. Suppose I could give you some insight onto things to buy in the store. So I'm only level 8, so I haven't really unlocked that many things. What I did is I purchased the cheapest rod right off the bat. A reason for which, so yeah, I've got a 6.17 pound strength rod, and it's a spinning rod, so it's designed for a spinning reel, which is basically what you start off with. Well, the rod that you start off with is a weird rod. It's a universal rod. I think it's the only one like it. On storage. There it is. Okay, so yeah, here it is. The universal rod. So it's like some combination of a spinning rod and a float. It doesn't have much strength, only 4.41 pounds, and its casting range is horrible, 15 meters. By getting this guy, you double your casting range, and you get more strength to go with, and it's relatively cost effective. And I think that is really the way to go in the beginning, because my durability is down. I'm gonna want to fix it. I don't know. I'm getting close to moving up to the next rod and reel selection that I wanted. So yeah, this is the first rod I went with, and then the next rod I plan to get with, since this is kind of the rod I'm using to level up to the next point. This is a stopgap rod, if you will. I took it because it was the cheapest and because it's going to make you far more effective in the game. Alright, but the rod I'm looking to buy here in the near future is this casting rod here, this Sakura Iconic Casting 661. So it's got a rod strength of 13 pounds, which is double the strength that I'm using right now. It's got a casting range of 120 meters, but it's a casting rod. So do note that this casting rod is an important thing to note, because you don't use spinning reels with casting rods, you use casting reels. And that is the reason that this is going to be my next rod, is because I plan for my next reel to be a casting reel. So let's look at the reels. So I started off with, I think, this thing, which is has a drag of 2.87 pounds, which is, next to nothing. It's a very weak reel, hardly capable of doing anything. So I got probably one of the cheaper spinning reels to throw on the original pull that I got. So this has a 6.39 pound drag. The rod is rated at 6.17 pounds. Yeah, so again, nothing fancy about it. I think this is, this guy here, the very first one on the list, is the one I got because it was the cheapest. And so basically I'm using the cheaper... Wait, why is this on 300? Oh, it's got a drag of only 3.53, where this guy's got a drag of 6.39. So I didn't go with the cheapest one, I went with the next step up, because I wanted the higher drag strength. I was looking for a rod and reel capable of about 6 pounds, just so that I could get myself off the ground. And by off the ground is basically what I mean until I can afford this guy. I can afford this guy right now, which I guess it doesn't matter which order I buy him. I could buy this right now, I suppose. But I'm going to need both the rod and the reel in order to use the reel. I can't just throw this reel onto my current rod because my current rod isn't designed for a casting reel. But this is the reel I am planning to use next. It's got a drag of 14.33, which means I can handle some fairly large fish with it. It's not the biggest reel by any stretch of the imagination, but again, it's a stepping stone. But it's a casting reel. I prefer casting reels to spinning reels. Granted, you could get a spinning reel for less that has a drag of 17.86 pounds compared to the 14.33 pounds. And therein, you're going to be able to handle big fish just the same as I will. The only difference is that the casting reel, well, it's a slightly better caster. You're going to be able to reach out and cast longer. Is that going to be important? Maybe not. And the other thing is just preference. I use casting reels in real life. I hate spinning reels. I don't use them in real life. I prefer casting reels and closed face reels, like a Zebco 2020 and stuff like that for panfish. I avoid these reels like the plague in real life. But anyway, so yeah, I just went with this ineffective rod and reel combination, rated at about 6 pounds, as my first step. And one of the things you're going to notice is when you look at the lines, you're not going to have any lines for any period of time that's going to be able to handle these reels anyway. So right now, this is the level 8 line, which is what I'm using, with a strength of 6 pounds, 6.17 pounds. At level 9, you go up to 6.39 pounds. Again, that's 6.39. What's the difference here? This is fluoro, and this is mono. And then at 11, you can move up to 7 pounds. 11, you move up to 7.72. At level 15, so to get to a 27.78 pound strength line, a fluoro line, you're not going to get that until level 15. Now, granted, what was I going to say? If you look at some of these others, you go back to 9.7, 7.7, 11.02, 11.02, 11.9, 12. So here's a level 22 that gives you 12 pounds. So with the exception of this one oddball line here that I looked at, which is 27 pounds early on at level 15, there isn't going to be a big fish line, if you will. You know, your big braided lines that you would use for hauling in a muskie or something like that, or catching sturgeon. They don't even have any big braided lines. So yeah, all of these stronger lines here are not even braided. They're fluoro, mono, fluoro, 63.93. So this fluorocarbon line in the game seems to be their strongest tensile line, where in real life I prefer to use braided. But that's just me. So yeah, that's your really big fish line there, and it doesn't open up until level 31. So while there's much higher drag strengths on some of the early on casting reels, you're not going to have the lines that will even come near matching up with them for quite some time. So I feel pretty happy about the rod and reel combination I have planned in my mind. Which again is this here casting reel at 14.33 pounds. I'll probably end up throwing that on the casting rod, which is right there. So 13.45 pounds. The rod's a little bit stronger than the reel's a little stronger than the rod as far as drag strength. The rod is 13.45 pounds, which both the rod and reel are going to be far stronger than the line that I'm going to probably end up using with it, because by the time I'm going to have the money to buy these two components, which is close to 6,400, I need to collect another 2,000 in order to get these two working together, which is I'll probably be level 9 if not level 10 by that time. I likely won't be level 11. If I do make level 11, then I'll be using this braided here, which is 7 pound. If I don't make it, I'll be using this mono, which is 6 pound. So the line is going to be far weaker than the reel and rod for quite some time. The weaker of the two was the rod at 13 pounds. So right here, level 24, that's a long ways away, is when I'm going to start to have a line strength that's going to start to equal my rod and reel. Like I currently have, the situation I currently have, where I'm having to lower my drag a little bit to avoid doing any damage to the rod and reel. That situation is not going to take place. I'm not going to find myself in that situation till like level 24, 25. And I'm only level 8. So I feel like the rod and reel that I'm aiming for is going to be a good stepping stone to reach the end game. So I started off with the real cheap ones to get me to, I guess, mid-game or early mid-game. Now I'm going to buy the combination I told you to reach me to end game. And then once I'm at end game, then, well, I'll probably just be catching pike and sturgeon, which is the only fish that really interested me in this game. That's another problem with it. But anyway, I'm not going to talk about that right now. I'll probably want a really big casting rod. Strong casting rod. So, what do we got here? That's a stronger casting rod there. Level 14. 29. Not quite strong enough. Strength. That's 50. That's a universal rod. Spinning. Catfish. Universal. Spinning. Casting. 29 pound strength. Casting. 29, 20. So that casting rod right there will be pretty much the strongest rod I'll have access to at 29.98 pounds, because I'm not going to be using the catfish rod, and I'm not going to be using this spinning rod, nor the universal rod, nor the universal. So that will be my end game rod, if you will, right there. So I'm looking at 29.98 pounds. The reel I'll probably throw on that. I think that guy would match up with it the best. Though, the drag could be weaker than the possible line. I wouldn't want that, so... What was the rod rated? 29 pounds, right? That's 26. So what line? That line's too strong. You never want to have a line that's stronger than your equipment. This 16-pound mono would probably be what I would end up using. So I'm not seeing anything else. There's a 17-pound. This is mono. Yeah, so either this is something around 16, 17-pound mono. Like that there is 19. Oh wait, no, that's still weaker than the reel and the rod. 19, but that's too strong. That's a 20 pound. That's too strong. 27. All right. So yeah, that that line I guess would be my end game line. And you're again, the reason you want to have the line weaker is so that it snaps before any damage is done to either your rod or reel. You don't want to break your rod and you don't want to break your reel. So if your line is the weakest link, it's going to snap first and foremost. If you have a line, like say this guy here, that is stronger than both the drag and the snapping power of your rod, well then you're going to either snap your rod or break your reel before this line snaps. And that's not good. Anyway, that's a look at equipment and how I go about looking at equipment and what I look for and how I look for it. Also, we went over where to find catfish, we went over where to find bass, we went over where to find giant perch, and we even looked at where to find some bream, all using the white Mr. Twister. I think I've pretty much covered all the bases here in professional fishing. The next video might be kind of a review video to give my unadulterated thoughts about the game as a whole and compared to some of the other fishing games out there. But until that video, or until the next video I do, hopefully you are all enjoying my content. If so, please leave a like and subscribe. And until the next time, all, peace.